Better get the coleslaw, y'all. We gonna have us a barbecue.
Coming to paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Cancel Vacation. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a social justice social media mob looking to cancel her in this all-new E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order E-Steam Cancel Vacation on Amazon.com today.
Recently, Ms. Pat became the latest black celebrity to take a shot at Bill Cosby. Now, your Ms. Pat, in an interview with Comedy Hype, stated that your Bill Cosby is free only because he's got money. Now, most people would just see this as Ms. Pat's opinion, but when I take a critical examination of this statement made by Ms. Pat, I know that it's not just her, but the white supremacist institution of the mainstream media going out here and taking another shot at Bill Cosby. Now, these white supremacists who work for the big four media oligarchy, they know they cannot go out here and take shots at Mr. Cosby because now that he has been cleared of all charges with the conviction overturned, Bill Cosby can now sue them for either slander or libel if they go out here and make these kinds of statements. So because they know they cannot make these kinds of statements against him, what they do is they go out here and find a black proxy to go out here and then use that person to attack him by proxy. So what they do is find a black celebrity who will go out here and bootlick like your Ms. Pat and then send her to go out here and say the things that they want said about Mr. Cosby. So your Ms. Pat is eager to go out here and do this for two reasons. The first reason she is eager to go out here and do this is because she wants to get some more favor with the white supremacists in Hollywood who pay her check. Your Ms. Pat is financed by your Viacom the same way your Hannibal Buress was financed by NBC, and what your Ms. Pat wants to do is curry more favor with those white supremacists in the mainstream media, and as she curries that favor with them, she can go out here and build what she believes to be a larger platform on the Viacom platform. Now, your Ms. Pat already has her Ms. Pat Mammy show where she plays a big fat black mammy, and now she wants to continue again keeping that favor with those white supremacists who greenlit her show at Viacom. So she's going to go out here and say what they want said on their platform. Now, in addition to being their shill for this attack, your Ms. Pat also is doing this because she has a deep-seated grudge and a deep-seated hatred of black men. Now, in the interview, your Ms. Pat talks about how she was abused ever since she was a child by black men, and that's one of the things that has her holding a grudge against all black men. Now, she says she has been abused ever since she was a child and taken advantage of by all of these black men she has been involved with, and I'm sad to hear that, but it looks like she doesn't really see the bigger picture as related to things, because it's not just those black men that she has a grudge against that she doesn't really see that are taking advantage of her, but a whole group of white men in corporate America who are taking advantage of her, and what they're doing is taking advantage of her emotional state and using her as a weapon to not only attack Bill Cosby, but to also attack black men by proxy. Because the main reason why they went out here and recruited your Ms. Pat is because, like her predecessors before her, your Alice Walker and your Oprah Winfrey, your Ms. Pat has a lot of deep-seated trauma as related to her experiences with black men, and because she has a lot of deep-seated trauma as related to her experiences with black men, this is the kind of story that fits their narrative, and because it fits their narrative, this is why they went out here and recruited her for their platform on BET+. That's why they went out here and gave Ms. Pat a deal because her story reflected what these white supremacists wanted to hear about what black men do, because in their eyes, all black men are evil. And the only reason why the white supremacist sees a black man as evil is because he represents competition. So he goes out here and funds and finances the voices that demonize black men. So that's why they went out here and got Ms. Pat. And she was so eager to go out here and do the white supremacist dirty work that she really could not see how these white men were taking advantage of her. Like she states, black men took advantage of her, and she cannot see how these white men are taking advantage of her to push an anti-black man misandrist narrative that fits their agenda. That's what your Ms. Pat can't see, because your Ms. Pat is so caught up in her emotions about the abuse that she alleges she suffered from black men that she cannot see that she has the same deep-seated self-hatred that your Alice Walker had and your Oprah Winfrey had, and that is manifested in the blonde weave she was wearing and all of the caked up makeup she has on. This woman is deeply troubled, and the whole thing is she cannot see how these white supremacists are using her as a weapon to go out here and not only attack Mr. Cosby and R. Kelly, but to attack black men by proxy. Now, the argument that your Ms. Pat makes in her interview is one that is completely false, because she's sitting there saying that Bill Cosby got off because he's got money. Well, let's take a critical examination of what happened to Mr. Cosby in these two railroaded cases where your Mr. Cosby was prosecuted maliciously by your Kevin Steele. In the first trial for this alleged sexual assault of Andrea Constant, he was dealt with a hung jury, but in the second trial, he got a conviction that was completely false, because the entire trial should have never happened, because Mr. Cosby signed a deposition that said he would not be charged criminally as related to anything that he stated inside of the affidavit, and that the affidavit would never be used in a court trial. So this whole case was done by Kevin Steele, who had a grudge against Mr. Cosby and had a personal vendetta against him. And in the second trial, he was convicted. So even though Mr. Cosby had over $400 million, he was not free because he had money. No, the white supremacists did not care how much money Mr. Cosby had. They were going to go out here and get revenge on him by proxy and get revenge on black men through going out here and trying to destroy him, because they did not like the idea of a black man having a legacy that that they could not tarnish. And that was the main reason why they wanted to go after Mr. Cosby. And what they did was find themselves a nice little corporate shill with your Hannibal Buress to start their assault. And what they did was offer him some crumbs at NBC to go after Mr. Cosby. They gave him some movies, some commercials, some TV shows, promised him some fame, and then he went out here, made this statement about Bill Cosby, and they used this as a springboard to go out here and push their media narrative that Bill Cosby was this sexual predator. And then they trotted out all of these females to go out here and say Mr. Cosby violated them. But many of their stories, once you took a critical examination of them and the context of history, you would start to see that many of these stories were completely false. And the reason why you would see these stories as completely false is because many of these stories took place in the late 60s. And in the late 60s, if a white female were to have been sexually violated by a black man, the whole police force would be after that black man in next to no time, because 1967, 1968, Jim Crow was still going on in the South, and there was still discrimination going on in the North. And if you understood history like I have, and I studied history extensively as related to black history, again, no black man is going to go out here and commit this kind of crime, and the police are just not going to do anything about it. I mean, that black man was practically marked for death at that point, and he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life because sex crimes were something that were not tolerated during those dark days of nearing the end of Jim Crow. And if a black man did this, he would be practically put in jail next to no time. And there would have been a huge scandal because Bill Cosby was on I Spy at the time, and it would have been in all the papers as related to that crime. So that's where there was a hole in that story, in a lot of those stories. And then you had some of these females who were out here basically trying to revise history to make it look like they were victims. But when you took further critical examination of their stories, you started to see that they were not victims. They were actually members of the casting couch looking to trade sexual favors in exchange for an opportunity to get a part on one of Bill Cosby's shows, or they were out here being groupies looking to trade sexual favors in order to get a deeper connection with Mr. Cosby. And some of these women basically were fitting into the side piece category, and many of them were upset that they're trading their body and was going out here and never getting them the parts that they wanted or the career that they wanted, or they were out here being a side piece for a while to Mr. Cosby, and then the whole thing just fell apart. So a lot of these women were making the allegations. They were just angry about the fact that they went to Hollywood, tried to trade on their looks, tried to trade some of that atomic waste in the skid mark draws for parts, and it did not pan out. So now they want to revise the story to make themselves a victim, get some attention from Hollywood for the last time. But the whole thing is, when you really start to scrutinize the stories, you see that there was no crime committed by Mr. Cosby, and there was no crime committed at all. It was just these females went out here and traded their bodies for these parts and opportunities, and they did, and all they got was screwed over as related to things, because in the entertainment business, if you don't know that it's a business, when you try to go through a side door, you're just going to wind up screwing yourself out of any sort of opportunity. And that's what happened to many of these women out here. But then you have Ms. Pat trying to make it into he's a predator, but he wasn't a predator. What's going on here is this woman is just projecting all of her issues onto Mr. Cosby, and what your white supremacist is doing is using Ms. Pat's anger to attack black men by proxy. So this is a whole case of your white supremacists going out here and weaponizing a black woman and then using her as a weapon to go out here and attack black men. And it's no different than what Alice Walker did with her book, The Color Purple, and what Hollywood did with the movie, The Color Purple. It is no different than what Oprah Winfrey did for over 20 plus years on her Oprah Winfrey Show. And what they have done is found another bitter black woman who was obese with a hair weave to be a mammy and a sapphire who would emasculate black men. That is what is being done with this Ms. Pat, is she is being used as a weapon to attack black men, either on her Ms. Pat Mammy show or in these interviews. And sadly, this woman who sits there and talks about black men taking advantage of her, sadly cannot see how these white supremacists are taking advantage of her, and she cannot see how these white supremacists are sitting here using her to attack black men, because these statements she was making about black men in this interview, they all fit the narrative of your white supremacist, whether it be on your NBC, your ABC, or your CBS. There is a deep hatred of heterosexual black men, and this is what this whole platform with Ms. Pat is all about. Ms. Pat is the latest tool that they're using to go out here and attack black men. And this fits again right in line with their old stereotype of the mammy and the sapphire who is going to emasculate this black man and bring him in line, because they don't like the idea of a black man rising to be like a Bill Cosby, because a Bill Cosby is somebody who's going to go out here and build in his community. He is going to go out here and leave a lasting legacy. He is going to present an image of black manhood and an image of black masculinity. And he's most importantly, even with his money, going to go out here and defend himself. And this is where your Ms. Pat had a real issue with him, talking about he's free because he's got money. No, he's free because he went out here and fought for his rights the way any American citizen would under our United States Constitution. Because under our United States Constitution, supposedly, a person is innocent until proven guilty. And if a person is put to trial, they have a right to go out here and hire the counsel to defend themselves. Now, I find it interesting when white men go out here and get the best counsel, like a Tom Mesereau or the late Johnny Cochran. It's perfectly fine. But when black men like Bill Cosby or O.J. Simpson go out here and hire the best counsel to defend themselves, oh, the white supremacist has an issue. What do they have an issue with? The black man having money, or the black man having the money and the resources to defend himself from a criminal justice system that clearly wants to stack the deck against that black man? And what they did, again, in the case of Bill Cosby, even with $400 million, was still find a way to put him in prison, even though he had the $400 million. And they went out here and railroaded Mr. Cosby on these trumped-up charges they knew had no merit whatsoever and could easily be overturned in a conviction. And again, that just shows how much people are caught up in their feelings about a black man having economic power, because they wanted to destroy Bill Cosby. Or Kevin Steele had a personal vendetta, as I see it, to go after Bill Cosby. And these same white supremacists who in the mainstream media still hold that grudge. And because they're still holding that grudge, they're still looking to find ways to malign Bill Cosby. And because they know that they can't do it through the mainstream media anymore, because now that Mr. Cosby's conviction was overturned, all of those statements that were made in the past could be seen as slander and libel. And now he can sue them for slander and libel. What they want to do is not overtly attack Mr. Cosby, but they want to covertly attack Mr. Cosby by going out here and finding themselves a voice to be a proxy to represent them, and then using that proxy voice to go out here and attack Mr. Cosby. And that is what Hannibal Buress was, and that is what Ms. Pat is right now. And sadly, your Ms. Pat is so caught up in her emotions and so naive as related to Hollywood and the entertainment industry that she cannot see that they're playing the same chess game that they did with your Hannibal Buress with her. Because yes, they will allow you to advance for a moment in their institution, and once they have finished with using you, eventually they are going to get rid of you. Because have we seen Hannibal Buress after anything related to this whole Hollywood anymore? I mean, that's a critical question I want people to really think about, because we have not seen Hannibal Buress in years. I mean, now that white supremacy has gotten what they wanted from Hannibal Buress, they have practically discarded him in the trash, and they will discard your Ms. Pat in the exact same way. And I believe, sadly, when they discard her in the trash, that is when she's going to realize that she has been used by your white supremacists, and that this white man she trusted, deified, and worshipped so much sees her no more in any way, shape, or form than any other person out here that's black. Because your Hollywood, again, only uses black people as tools to attack other black people, because That's how they keep us from going out here and building our own entertainment enterprise, because they want to keep black people on the plantation, like a lot of the sad NPC slaves who were defending this Ms. Pat show to me when I called it out. And they want to keep you on the entertainment platform imbibing their narratives, because as long as you imbibe their narratives, they feel comfortable. And what they want to do is steer you away from our great elders by maligning them. But when it comes down to Mr. Cosby, I have to defend him, because this man has done so much for black people that I cannot go out here and turn on Mr. Cosby, because Mr. Cosby never turned his back on our community. He never turned his back on our people. And I believe that he is shaking his head at this Ms. Pat, who sadly cannot see that these white supremacists she's out here doing the dirty work for, that these people who she's thinking are laughing with her are the same ones laughing at her, making a mockery of her, and she cannot see how she is just being used as a tool for their agenda, the same way your Louise Beavers was used as a tool during the dark days of Jim Crow, the same way Hattie McDaniel was used as a tool during the dark days of Jim Crow, and the same way they used the Beulah Show in the 50s. They used black women like Ms. Pat to laugh at black people, and what she cannot see is they're laughing at her, making a mockery of her, and then after they have finished making that mockery of her, she's gonna sadly be the one who doesn't see how she is the butt of the big joke, because she's being used as a tool to do their dirty work, and she can't see that these people in Hollywood, they don't mean her any good. She's, again, caught up in her emotions about her past with black men, but she cannot see how white supremacy has a dark future for her. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, All About Marilyn. Learn all about the struggles of a faded former teen sitcom star in this absolutely fabulous 5-star screenplay. Get All About Marilyn in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com today.